Ladies and gentlemen, let me share something that could shift your spirit today. There is a reason why some women never break. They have been through the fire. They've experienced betrayal, heartbreak, and disrespect, and yet they move forward as if nothing ever touched them. Not because they are cold, not because they are numb, but because they are shielded. There's a force that surrounds her, guiding her and creating a path for her, even when she can't see it. Once you start recognizing those signs, you will understand why she always rises again, why no weapon formed against her ever prevails. So, if you are that woman, or you're becoming her, don't scroll past this. Every moment of this message is a reflection showing you the power you carry. It may seem like she's alone, like she's missing out, and people might wonder how a woman like her can move through life without always needing someone by her side. No entourage, no crowd, no grand entrance. Just her moving with grace and quiet strength, with a deep sense of purpose. But what they don't understand is that she is never truly alone. She isn't empty. She isn't waiting for applause. She isn't looking for attention. She is walking with something profound, something that most people can't comprehend because they are too busy chasing after distractions. She's been through too much to depend on temporary people. She has had people come and go in her life like a revolving door. She's been betrayed by those she trusted, abandoned when she needed someone the most. And still, she didn't allow that to destroy her. It didn't make her bitter. It made her wiser. It showed her that some people enter your life only to teach you how to stand on your own. Once you master that walk, you realize you were never truly alone. You were being shielded, separated, kept for something greater. When a woman learns to walk on her own, it means she has learned to hear her own voice again. Not the voices of guilt, not the lies of fear, not the whispers of manipulation, her own voice. The one that speaks truth even when the world tries to drown it out. The one that tells her when to leave a room, when to cut ties, when to trust, when to hold back. That voice is never loud. It is sacred. It speaks only when peace is present. That's why she walks alone, so she can hear it clearly. She knows that not every presence is a blessing. Not every crowd is safe. Not every friend is loyal. She has learned how to read energy, how to notice what doesn't sit well with her soul, how to spot danger behind a smile. Once you've spent enough time around the wrong people, being alone feels like peace. It's not loneliness, it's liberation. It's the kind of freedom that lets you enjoy your own company. And that's what makes her untouchable. Evil doesn't always come with flashing red flags. Sometimes it blends in. It charms. It pretends. Those who are constantly distracted, always needing someone around, may miss these signs. But not her. She has learned to walk solo. She has developed a sharp spirit. She doesn't need a warning. She can feel when something is off. Her spirit speaks louder than words, and her quietness keeps her alert. People often ask, how is she so fine being by herself? What they don't understand is that solitude taught her the difference between being needed and being used. It taught her how to stop pouring into empty hands. It showed her that love isn't about begging someone to stay. It's about respecting yourself enough to let go. She no longer fears letting people go. She welcomes it, because she knows that peace is too precious to keep paying for with her energy. What guards her isn't just physical, it's spiritual. It's the unseen force that guides her away from danger. It's the quiet whisper that tells her no, even when everything around her shouts, yes. That protection may not always be loud. No big signs, no applause. But it appears in moments others don't notice. The message she didn't respond to, the person she didn't meet, the offer she turned down that later turned out to be a disaster. That's not by chance. That's divine protection. And that protection grows stronger when she walks in silence. Because when you walk with too many voices around you, their noise drowns out your clarity. Their opinions cloud your vision. But when you walk alone, your insight sharpens. You hear more clearly. You move with power, not pressure. And that power is untouchable by evil. Some people will get it wrong. They'll say she's distant, that she's cold. But they don't realize her silence isn't a wall. It's a sanctuary. It's where she restores herself. It's where she listens to the truth. It's where she strengthens herself. And most importantly, it's where she becomes unshakable. She's not wandering. She's not lost. She's not walking aimlessly. She's being led. Every step she takes is purposeful. Every path she chooses is meaningful. Every quiet moment alone reminds her that, against every dark force, she's not weak. She's not easy to fool. She's covered. And being protected doesn't always show up like armor or swords. Sometimes it shows up as silence. Sometimes it's solitude. Sometimes it's a woman walking alone but holding the strength of an army inside her. So next time you see her walking confidently, head held high, no one beside her, don't pity her. Don't assume she's missing something. Know that she's walking in power. She's aligned. She's in a season where separation is protection. And she's never been stronger. She doesn't owe anyone an explanation. She doesn't wait for someone to show their true nature before she trusts her intuition. Her spirit feels things before actions confirm them. When someone steps into her space, she senses a shift in energy, a strange tension, a quiet warning. That's not paranoia. That's awareness. She doesn't guess. She knows. When she enters a room, she doesn't just see with her eyes. She sees with her soul. While others fall for smooth words, fake smiles, and shiny packaging, she sees right through it. She's not impressed by displays. She's not moved by facades. She's danced with pain. She's faced deception. She's survived betrayal. And once you've been through that fire, your spirit doesn't just recover, it transforms. Her awareness is now her armor. Her quietness is her defense. She pays attention not just to words, but to tone, timing, and the feeling behind them. That uneasy feeling when someone smiles but your heart knows better. She listens to that. That's how she stays protected. Not by fighting, not by accusing, but by recognizing. She doesn't need to argue to prove she's right. Her spirit already knows. Sometimes, she can't even explain why. But when something seems perfect on paper, yet something feels off, she trusts it. She doesn't wait for drama. She doesn't ask for closure. She simply creates distance because she knows not everything that looks good is meant for her. Not every opportunity is divine. Not every admirer has good intentions. That's why she's safe. She doesn't shut down her inner voice. She leans into it because it's never led her wrong. That voice saved her from another painful cycle. It warned her before danger arrived. It protected her when words failed, when people disappointed her. She doesn't announce her intuition. She just moves differently. When something changes, she adjusts. No chasing, no begging, no guilt. She guards her peace without apology. She doesn't care to prove a point. She's focused on preserving what she's worked hard for. Her peace, her vision, her healing. Darkness doesn't always make a lot of noise. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it wears a smile. Sometimes it pretends to help. That's why her intuition is her greatest weapon. She's experienced kindness used as manipulation. She's had normal conversations that left her spirit drained. That's why she no longer judges only with her eyes. She listens with her soul. And the more she trusts that inner voice, the more aligned she becomes. Confusion no longer clouds her mind. People who used to be able to reach her can no longer access her energy. She knows the cost of ignoring her spirit. She's done it before. She gave chances she shouldn't have. She stayed longer than she should have. But she learned. Yes, she learned. And now, she doesn't give darkness the benefit of the doubt. Her shield is her awareness. Her gift is seeing without making noise. She doesn't always need to call things out. Sometimes she just steps away. Sometimes, the wisest move is no reaction. Just silence, just wisdom. She doesn't argue with what her spirit already knows. If something feels wrong, She trusts it. That's how she stays ahead, miles ahead. Some will call her too guarded, too sensitive. But they don't understand that her sensitivity is her superpower. It was forged by pain. It was refined by experience. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. She doesn't ignore the shift in the room. She feels it. She respects it. That's why evil can't easily touch her. That's why manipulators grow uneasy around her. They can't hide behind fake smiles. She sees through it all. She doesn't need proof. Her knowing is silent, but it's powerful. And that deep knowing, that sacred intuition, that's what keeps her from walking into traps, from falling for empty words, from entertaining what doesn't resonate with her soul. She can sense shadows before they arrive. And that's why she walks in the light. Not just the kind people see, but the kind that helps her truly see. No evil can touch her. The enemy isn't worth her time. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. She's endured too much to let petty people drag her into chaos. She's learned how the enemy moves, not always by direct attack, but by trying to distract her, steal her focus, disturb her peace, and blur her purpose. Once you realize that some people show up only to provoke you, not because they're strong, but because they feel threatened by your calm, you stop, giving them the satisfaction of your reaction. She knows how to walk away, not because she's afraid to fight, but because she refuses to waste her energy on battles that lead nowhere. She understands that some people are only there to create confusion, test her patience, or tempt her to act out of character. But she's outgrown that. She's too grounded, too focused. Growth teaches you that silence can be your power, distance your defense, and peace becomes your victory. She's learned that protection doesn't always look like hiding from the storm. Sometimes it's about having the strength to ignore it, to not reply to the message, to not show up for the fight, and to not get caught in the noise. That's true maturity. When you're not shaken by every push or provocation, when you recognize the trap and choose to walk around it, not through it. Some will try to disturb her peace. They'll provoke her with lies, guilt, and manipulation. They'll push her buttons just to see if they still control her. But she's upgraded. She's leveled up. She doesn't run on emotions anymore. She doesn't act on impulse. She moves with purpose. She knows her attention is valuable, and she won't waste it on people who haven't earned her presence. That's the difference between a woman who is guarded and one who is reactive. A protected woman has learned to pause before speaking, to breathe before replying, and to think before acting. She understands that some people only want to drain her. They want to distract her from her mission. They want to break her focus because they can't handle how centered she is. When you carry light, darkness always tries to pull you in. But it only succeeds if you walk into the shadows. So, she stays grounded. She guards her peace. She lets people assume, talk, and think whatever they want. Because, at the end of the day, her purpose speaks louder than their opinions. She's not here to prove her worth. She's here to protect her energy. And that's what unsettles the wicked, the woman who doesn't flinch, who doesn't respond, and who lets her silence speak louder than their noise. When you don't react, you take away their power. When you don't respond, they're left talking to themselves. And when you walk away from battles that don't belong to you, you walk away with your peace intact. Her protection is in that stillness, in the wisdom that reminds her you don't need to fight every battle. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to explain yourself to those determined to misunderstand you. She knows who sent her. She knows what's inside her. And that's why she doesn't need to prove it. Some will say she's cold. Others will call her distant. They'll say she should have said something, that she should have reacted. But she understands the cost of stepping into mess. She knows how easy it is to lose your footing when you fight in places you were never meant to be. So, she doesn't argue. She doesn't defend. She rises above the lies, the drama, and the noise, because she understands that elevation requires separation. Each time she walks away from what was meant to destroy her peace, she's protected. Each time she chooses silence over revenge, she's strengthened. Each time she refuses to prove herself to those beneath her purpose, she grows. She doesn't engage in every fight, because some are just noise, some are bait, and some are beneath the woman she has become. Her discipline is her protection. Her silence is her armor. And her victory lies in the fact that she's still standing, calm, focused, and powerful. While the world tries to pull her down, she remains unshaken. She doesn't fall for it. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't fight, because she already knows she's won. Not everyone deserves a place in her life, and she knows that. She's not chasing popularity. She's not trying to impress anyone. Her loyalty can't be bought, and her energy isn't for sale. She values her peace too much to allow just anyone near. Because once you've been betrayed, once you've been hurt by people you trusted, once you've faced fake smiles hiding real harm, you learn. You learn that access to you is earned, not given. She doesn't keep people around just to feel less lonely. She doesn't settle for shallow friendships that drain her spirit. If it's not genuine, if it's not built on truth, love, and trust, she cuts it loose. She's not afraid to be alone. In fact, she thrives in it. Because in her silence, she finds clarity. In her stillness, she hears wisdom that the noise would drown out. That's why her circle is small. Not because she's antisocial, but because she's intentional. She understands energy. She knows that the people you let in can either lift you up or tear you down. So, she protects her space like it's sacred. She's seen that evil doesn't always show up loudly. Sometimes, it hides behind a quiet smile. Sometimes, the ones who cheer the loudest secretly want to see you fall. She's felt that sting. Now she listens more deeply. She watches more closely. She no longer lets labels like friend, family, or love blind her to behavior. She doesn't need a crowd. She just needs a loyal few. People who celebrate her without competition. People who don't gossip because they have character. People who don't smile to her face and plot behind her back. And if she doesn't find those people, she's fine walking alone. Because being at peace with herself is worth more than being caught up in chaos with others. She'd rather walk alone in truth than be surrounded by lies. Her spirit remains pure because she does the inner work. She doesn't just guard herself from others. She checks herself, too. She faces her own flaws. She holds herself accountable. She forgives, not because others deserve it, but because she refuses to carry bitterness. That's her protection, refusing to let darkness grow inside her. She knows that what you carry becomes what you attract. So, she releases hate. She releases envy. She releases revenge. Not out of weakness, but from wisdom. She knows a clean heart hears more clearly. She knows blessings flow freely when there's no blockage in the soul. Evil grows in bitterness, and she refuses to nurture it. She lets go of the pain. She heals, and through that healing, she becomes untouchable. Evil people can't use guilt to trap her. They can't twist her emotions. They can't drag her into their messy games, because she's not living from old wounds anymore. She's aligned now. Her tight circle is her shield. It's not about how many people she has. It's about how real they are. Real recognizes real. Loyalty finds loyalty. And her life is built on truth, not attention. That's why darkness can't reach her. It can't survive in an atmosphere that pure. A clean spirit exposes the filth in others. It makes manipulators uneasy. It makes liars anxious. It makes users leave because they can no longer feed off her. She doesn't chase people. She doesn't beg for love. She doesn't force connections. If it's not mutual, if it's not sincere, she lets it go. She understands that anything forced isn't right. Anything meant for her won't make her sacrifice her peace. That's why she sleeps soundly, not because her life is perfect, but because her circle is true and her spirit is at rest. No matter how deeply she loves someone, if they disturb her peace, she'll choose herself every single time. Because she's not afraid of being alone. She's afraid of losing herself in false connections. She's afraid of giving to people who only take. She's afraid of repeating cycles she worked hard to break. So she stays guarded, not closed off, just wise. And when something feels off, she trusts that feeling. Experience has taught her that peace is a compass. Her circle is made up of people who don't need to be watched. Their loyalty speaks for itself. Her spirit is pure because she's done the work. Her life is protected, not because she fights off darkness, but because she doesn't let it in. That's why she stands tall. That's why she walks boldly. She's not carrying dead weight. She's not dragging old pain. She's not entertaining soft-voiced snakes. Her life is rooted in truth, and that life cannot be shaken. Not by lies, not by betrayal, not by evil hiding behind sweet words. Her circle is tight. Her spirit is clean. And that bed of peace is her armor. There's something powerful about a woman who doesn't panic when the storm hits. While others are losing control, grasping for order, she stands steady, calm, firm, and grounded. She doesn't let the chaos outside disturb her calm inside. Her peace isn't built on conditions. It's built on something stronger, something earned, something forged in hardship, pain, and struggle. She didn't find peace because life was kind. She found it because life tested her, broke her, stretched her, and she still stood. This kind of peace can't be faked. You can't pretend your way into it. You can't borrow from it. Someone else, you must earn it. You have to walk through fire and not let the flames define you. You have to witness everything falling apart and still choose not to collapse with it. You have to let go of what you thought you couldn't live without. Say goodbye to those you believed were forever and still rise with purpose. This is where true peace is born, not in ease, but in overcoming. But she remains unshaken, because she's grounded in something far deeper than her feelings. She doesn't chase after closure. She doesn't demand reasons. She has discovered that peace often finds you when you stop trying to understand everything and begin to trust the journey. She doesn't need all the answers to feel safe. She simply needs her mindset to remain strong. That's why, when trouble comes, she doesn't panic. She's already been through it. She's stood in the darkness and refused to let it consume her. She's felt fear and kept moving forward. She's cried through the night and still rose in the morning, burning with passion. In her soul, she knows how to stay composed amidst chaos because her peace isn't dependent on the absence of problems, but on the power inside her. People often mistake her stillness for weakness, but they don't know the strength it took to find that stillness. It takes bravery to stay calm when everything around you is loud. It takes inner strength to show kindness in a world that breeds anger. She doesn't argue to prove a point. She doesn't break down just because things didn't go as planned. She's learned how to move with the waves without letting them drown her. That's not just growth. That's protection. That's real spiritual armor. She doesn't need the world around her to be calm to feel okay. She builds peace within herself. She guards it. She nurtures it. She protects it as something sacred because she knows people will try to shake her and life will try to break her. But as long as her inner world remains in order, the chaos outside has no power over her. That's why you'll see her walking through fire with a smile, as though strolling through peace. Because peace isn't about what's happening around you, it's about what's happening inside you. And toxic people, they can't stand that. They despise that they can't reach her, that their mess doesn't move her, that their silence doesn't make her doubt herself, that their mind games don't work on her. They'll throw shade, but she won't blink. They'll try to confuse her, but she stays clear, because she knows that if they can't take your peace, they can't take your strength. So she holds on to it like her life depends on it, because in many ways, it truly does. She's not blind. She knows storms will come. Life has taught her that peace doesn't mean everything is perfect. It just means you're no longer controlled by imperfections. That's why she doesn't speak fear. She doesn't expect to fail. She prepares her mind. She strengthens her spirit. And she walks with quiet confidence through every low point because she knows valleys are temporary, but the character you build there lasts forever. She doesn't need everyone to agree with her path. She doesn't explain her choices to people who only want to judge. Her peace protects her from that. It gives her the space to move quietly, to choose her battles, to walk away without needing to justify it, to focus on what truly matters, to breathe deeply even when life feels heavy. That's real protection, not from pain, but from reacting in ways that give pain more power. So while others panic, spin, and rush, she moves slowly. She moves with purpose. Because when your peace is whole, your vision remains sharp. You don't chase. You don't fear. You don't collapse. You flow. You trust. You rise. And even when the world feels like it's falling apart, she doesn't. Because she's not built on the world. She's built on strength, on wisdom, on an inner core no storm can shake. That's how you recognize a woman who's protected. Not because life doesn't test her, but because when it does, she remains steady. She doesn't let the noise outside disturb her calm inside. And that's the mark of a woman who's been through the fire and emerged stronger. A woman who knows herself. A woman who doesn't need life to slow down because she's already carrying peace within. There's something fierce about a woman who doesn't beg for answers, doesn't chase after people, doesn't cling to what's clearly slipping away. When her spirit senses a shift, when the vibe turns dark, when peace begins to fade, she pays attention. She doesn't wait for drama. She doesn't wait for proof. She doesn't need a big scene to confirm what her soul already knows. She just walks, and she does it with her chin up, full of grace, and most importantly, without looking back. She understands what many miss. Peace is priceless. Anything that threatens that stillness, that clarity, is too expensive to hold on to. She's not afraid to release. She's not afraid to lose people. She's not worried about disappointing those who expect her to settle, because she understands the cost of staying misaligned is far greater than the pain of walking away. Some might call her silence cold, but she knows it's clarity. It's strength. It's self-preservation. She doesn't entertain confusion. She doesn't engage with chaos. She doesn't argue for validation. When something feels off inside, she honors it. She respects her gut like it's sacred because she's learned that sometimes your soul knows what your mind hasn't figured out yet. If she keeps staying in places that make her feel empty, she starts to shrink just to survive. And she's not here to shrink. She's here to live. She walks not because she's cold, but because she's healed. She walks because she knows you can love deeply and still let go. You can forgive fully and still not open the door again. She's not bitter. She's just not bleeding for people who wouldn't even notice she was hurting. That's not arrogance. That's growth. When she walks away, she doesn't slam doors. She doesn't throw words around. She doesn't make noise. That's not her. Her quiet exit speaks louder than words ever could. And those who pay attention closely know, when she leaves, something sacred departs with her because her presence isn't average. It brings light. It brings healing. It brings calm. And when she's gone, the space feels different. The atmosphere shifts because what she brought can't be replicated. It can't be replaced. Toxic souls despise that. They hate that she won't play their games, that she won't stay to pretend, that she won't lower her standards to feel accepted. They hate that guilt doesn't work on her anymore. Chaos doesn't pull her in. She's too grounded now, too rooted in truth, too connected to her purpose to let anything pull her off course. There's a reason she doesn't explain herself anymore, doesn't defend her silence, doesn't argue her choices, because she understands. Peace doesn't need explaining. You either feel it or you don't. And if you don't, that's not her burden. She didn't come here to be understood by everyone. She came here to protect her light, to live her truth, to walk in her purpose. And if leaving is the price she has to pay to safeguard that, she'll walk with grace, without hesitation. She's learned how to let go, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. She knows some people only show up to teach you what to avoid. Some situations come just to remind you how valuable you are. And when their purpose ends, so does her presence. She doesn't force anything to stay. She's finished watering dead plants. She's done explaining herself to people who thrive on her confusion. She's done showing up where she's barely welcomed. When she walks away, it's not out of anger. It's out of self-care. It's about honoring the woman she's becoming, the one who doesn't shrink to make others comfortable, the one who's not available for anything that doesn't grow her, heal her, or lift her spirit. That woman. She's unstoppable. And that's how you know she's protected. Because no matter how loud the world gets, no matter how tempting the chaos, no matter how many try to pull her back, she walks away. Not just with her feet, but with her heart, her energy, her spirit. She doesn't leave pieces of herself behind in broken places. She leaves whole. She leaves ready. That kind of wisdom, that kind of peace, that kind of self-love, isn't learned in books. It's learned through pain, through betrayal, through long nights, and quiet strength. That's how she became the woman she is today. Someone who doesn't just survive toxic energy but rises above it. Because nothing negative can cling to a soul that's this aligned, this aware, this divinely protected. If you see even a trace of this in your life, know that you're not forgotten. You're not weak. And you're definitely not being punished. You're being protected. And sometimes, the greatest blessing isn't what comes to you, but what never touches you. Walk boldly. You are chosen. Music.